Hey, I'm so excited. It's the morning here at Philadelphia Community College, and as you know, came off a really big corporate speech last week with Denny's and Magic Johnson. But for every paid gig I do, I always give back. And so before my meetings and my 50 for 50 tonight, I wanted to come here, and this is the School of Business with Philadelphia Community College, and hopefully I'll be a motivator and help people achieve their goals and their dreams to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. I'm really excited to be here. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
That's awesome. If my mom heard all that BS, she'd say, yeah, but my other son's a doctor. Entrepreneurs never get good respect. I thought I'd take you through my journey because a lot of people ask me, man, how did you do it? How'd you lose it? How'd you do it again? How do you make money? How do you help people? How do you have fun doing it? How do you keep your relationship with your family? All those questions are asked of me all the time. So I thought I'd walk you through my journey so you can see there's no right answer. But there's a lot of lessons along the way. So I was born in Akron, Ohio, not too far from here. Single mom, 6 kids, 5 boys and a girl. And we didn't have much, but we were really happy. Some of you may identify with that. The only time I wasn't happy was when I catch my mom crying because something would break, or we didn't have enough money for summer camp, or typical mom stuff. And so in my head at 5 years old, as my dad had left, I'm thinking, man, the only way to help my mom be happy, because I'm so happy, would be, sorry, I cry a lot, is to make a lot of money. Right? Money to me, I wanted to be really rich. So I could buy my mom a house, I'd buy my mom a car, and I'd make her happy. And so I always had this energy about money would come through me, and I would help people with it, because I was already happy. And my philosophy in life was I just wanted to be happy, because I saw a lot of people that weren't happy around me. Now my mom, her vision for my happiness was different than mine. Her vision was for me to study really hard and become a doctor, a lawyer, and if I wasn't one of those, I'd be a failure. That was her philosophy. I joke around about my mom because my siblings all went to Ivy League schools. She used to pack us up into a station wagon. You might even know what that is, but would pack us in there, no seatbelts and cigarettes going. That's why I'm 5'7". No, my parents are short anyway. But they pack us in this station wagon, and my mom, she was a teacher during the day, a 2nd grade teacher, and then we'd have a packed dinner, bologna or peanut butter jelly. Sometimes food stamps were involved in my life, but we would eat and read, and my older siblings would read to the younger siblings. And to be honest, I was the only one that didn't buy into that. I would sit and not listen. I wouldn't read. I'd tell my older brother, I'm not listening. I'm just going to be rich. He's like, you better read if you want to be rich. I'm like, I don't have to read to be rich because I'm going to be a professional football player. And he's like, you'll be lucky to hit 5'9". And you're not that good. You better read. I didn't read. So I didn't listen to anybody, which I think is a great lesson for entrepreneurs. I didn't listen to anybody when it came to me being a professional football player. Now, there's 2 sides to that lesson, because later on I learned I should treat all advice like a handful of sand. I should be grateful for people who give me advice, think about it, and if I don't like it, let it run right through my fingers like a grain of sand. And then when people give you a pearl, hang on to it. When it feels right to you, hang on to that pearl. But let the others, but be grateful for it. I was more resistant when people gave me advice that I couldn't be a professional football player. I created resistance. I'll show you. Well, in some respects I did, because I got to play football in college. And my great talent, right, I believe it takes 3 things to be successful: skills, knowledge, and desire. And my great skill for playing football was I could run scared faster than anybody could angry. Because I had a big mouth and a 2-bedroom apartment with older brothers, and they would chase me everywhere. So I learned to duck, jive, and really return kicks really well. So when I got on a football field, that thing seemed so big to me, I didn't know how anybody would even touch me. So I played college football, and I was one of the fastest guys on the team. I was also the smallest guy on the team. I weighed 147 pounds, and I wasn't any taller. I didn't shrink yet. But they put me my freshman year on the special teams. I was blessed to play some. And so my first game, they put me on the bullet, which is on a kickoff team, the far guy that's usually the fastest, that's supposed to run down and get the guy who you kick it off to. Well, my first game, I run down, I'm so excited, adrenaline out of control, and I just break through and I smash into the guy. Next thing I know, I'm lifted off the ground and I'm flying backwards, and he literally stepped on me. I completely got run over. Now, later on, I found out that guy's name was Christian Okoye, and the next year, he was the AFC Player of the Year. He was nicknamed, by the way, was the Nigerian Nightmare, and I still have nightmares about him. He's actually a close friend of mine now, and so I always joke around, I'm the very first person ever to get your autograph. And Christian's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I got your size 13 right here. It's still. But so, you know, during that season, I started realizing, although I had the knowledge to play football, I was a student of the game. Although I had the desire, more than anything, I love football. I slept with the football. I named my football. I carried that thing everywhere. I didn't have the skills. I didn't have the skills necessary to reach that level. Even though I learned so many lessons, reaching a higher level than most people would imagine I could have. And I take those lessons in my whole life, thinking about all the people that said, you are, you are, you are, and I learned to say, I am. Even though I didn't make it to the level that I wanted. So what did I do? I went back into my mom's formula, and I decided I'd be a doctor. So I went over to visit my oldest brother, who was a doctor. He was doing his residency. Went over to visit him in the hospital, and I was pre-med, and went over there, and I went to the hospital, and the first thing out of my mouth was, man, I hate hospitals. But my older brother looked at me like, are you kidding me? Dave, you are pre-med, you hate hospitals, how are you gonna be a doctor? I'm like, well, I wanna be a sports doctor. Right, I wanna be on a football field, a baseball field, helping kids, maybe a pediatrician, I don't know, but I'm not gonna be in the hospital. He gave me a great piece of advice. Maybe this might be the best advice I'll give you all day. He said, David, you need to be more interested than interesting. Be more interested than interesting. I was 18 years old, and I was gonna be a doctor because my mom wanted me to be a doctor, and I wanted to make my mom happy. So I didn't do any research on I never talked to one doctor, even my brother. I never asked my brother, hey, what's med school like? Right, what classes do you have to take? Right, I mean, think about it. And then later on in life, the big irony was when I ran Leigh Steinberg Sports and Entertainment. Some of you are a little bit older, the movie Jerry Maguire, right? We did the movie Jerry Maguire, Any Given Sunday, for the love of the game. People would come up to me all the time and go, Dave, you have my dream job. I want to be a sports agent just like you. And I can see the 18-year-old, right in his eyes, you don't have a clue what I do. So sometimes I'll say a joke like, do you like to babysit? Well, look at me. Right, one of the great skills of being a sports agent, if you like to babysit. You definitely need, so anyone babysits here, you're on your way to being a sports agent. So at that time I decided, if I'm not gonna be a doctor to make my mom happy, I better be a lawyer. So I switched to studying and be pre-law, and I studied really hard now. Because I realized I wasn't gonna be a football player, and I started to focus on my academics. And I started realizing, man, I got a lot of skills. This stuff isn't as hard as I thought it was. I mean, if I actually tried in high school, maybe I wouldn't have got that 1B. Maybe my siblings wouldn't look down on me. But I learned, man, I got some great skills, and there's a lot of knowledge to gain. So when I graduated college, I had my choice of different law schools, and I went to Tulane University in New Orleans. And the reason I went there is they had one of the first sports programs, so I was following my passion. And then two, they also taught common law and civil law, so international law and domestic law in the United States. And back then, I'm old, I saw the world opening up. I said, man, you know, I bet when I'm older, they'll be doing business in China even. So I was learning, and I started being more interested than interesting. And ironically, I also wanted to make a lot of money. I still wanted to buy my mom that house. Things were not going that well. My second year of law school, my oldest brother died. And I went back home, and I told my mom, that I wanted to quit law school, right? Because I had been looking, and I got offered a job to sell golf clubs into Asia. And it was $60,000 a year, plus commission. That's a lot of money when you're going $100,000 into debt, in a recession in the early 90s. And so I went home, and my mom told me another great piece of advice. She said, I'm not gonna let you quit. She said, I go, yeah, well, I'm taking loans. I can quit. I don't want to take those loans, so I'll find the money. I said, well, no, you can't find the money. You can barely pay for what we have. And I got younger siblings that want to go to Harvard and Penn and Columbia. So she said, Dave, if you're not going to invest in yourself, what are you ever going to invest in? Right? That, man, it still hits me. Because I think about it all the time when I have to make investments. What am I investing in? Right? I'm investing in the person. There's a million great ideas out there. Right? I got a TV show. It's the #1 digital business show. Right? Elevator pitch. I get pitched all the time. I fund more deals than most people. I got 2 different funds, and I personally am an angel investor. 90-some% of the time, I'm investing in one thing, just the people. Because I know most of the time the idea that the person is presenting to me is not the idea it's going to end up as. Right? I know Google was an optimization tool, Yahoo was an index tool. All these different companies have evolved. And guess what made them evolve? That person. The person that I was going to invest in, and I'm looking to see if they're investing in themselves. What do you have into this? What do you have into this? When a guy tells me, oh, well, I've been bankrupt and this, and goes through the whole thing, and I'm living on my friend's couch, I'm thinking to myself, man, that seems like someone that's consistent every day, persistent without quit, enjoying the pursuit of his potential. That's somebody I want to invest into. I don't really care about the idea, because this guy's going to do whatever it takes. This woman is going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. So at the end of law school, I got good grades in law school, still be more interested than interesting. I really have some skills in the classroom and speaking, and I have 2 job offers, which was a lot more than most people at that time in the early 90s. One was to be an oil and gas litigator for a big oil company, and it paid a lot. I paid a lot. And I was excited. But then I also got a job offer to sell legal research online. Now, online wasn't like online today. It was .edu, Cornell. It was 56K modems, dial up. There's a certain sound that used to be AOL, yeah. You know, and you'd wait and wait and wait. And so I was pressed because in my soul, I knew that this was going to be it. But I went to my mom because I needed her advice because I was going to take that other job. I said, Mom, what should I do? I got this job with this oil company, and I want to buy you a house and a car, but I got this other job selling. Well, you're not going to be a real lawyer? It's like, well, no, I'm going to sell. She's like, you going to take the bar? No, I'm not going to take the bar. She said, you're going to take the bar. I said, why? Because you got to complete everything that you start, right? So I was pissed, right? Because, you know, when my mom told me I had to take the bar, I don't care how, I had to take the bar. So I said to her, well, what job should I take? I'll take the bar. If that's the reason, because I have to complete it, I'll take the bar, but what job should I take? And she's looking at me like, you gotta be kidding me. You're gonna take the bar and not take the legal job? She thought she was out-guilting me, right? One thing about my mom, she's 5 feet, maybe. She looks like your typical Jewish mom, but she is a black belt in the martial arts. Black belt, 3rd degree, in the martial art of Jewish guilt. Some of you may have it in your own religions and cultures, but it is nasty. But that's why my siblings are so successful. You know, we're afraid. It's just like, I don't want to hurt you, Mama. So I said to her, I said, Mom, what should I do? And she looked at me and literally, in an instant, said, you need to be a real lawyer because this internet thing's a fad. Now, it turned out not to be a fad. It turned out to be the best decision that I made because I took the bar and I took the job in the internet. And in 9 months, I was a millionaire. And I bought my mom that house, and I bought my mom the car. Whew. And I paid back all my law loans, and I had a little bit left to buy a big screen TV, which was my dream. Which, by the way, cost $8,000 back then. And it was big, and it was like a house. It was bigger than this thing, trust me. It was big. I did learn one other lesson when I bought my mom the house and the car, is that money does not buy love. Just rents the shit out of it. Because I became the favorite child. I know no one wants to admit it, but anything I asked. Oh, no, that's Dave's bedroom. What would you like for dinner, Dave? Oh, no, you can't take the trash out. It was awesome. Well, anyway, I started to realize I better brand myself. At first, when I got out of law school and took the sales job, I put the ESQ on my business card. Right? I was projecting my insecurity. I wanted everybody to know. In fact, my mom would not even admit. People say, what does your son do? Oh, he's a lawyer for a legal publisher. Right? My card said I was a lawyer. And I go into my meetings with lawyers and judges and say, I'm a lawyer. Oh, you're a lawyer? Right? I was a salesperson. And I'll tell you, I'm a really good one. And that's the skills that I'm really good at. Really good at it. And that's why I did so well. But it took me a couple years to figure out, I better start telling people what I am and brand myself for what I am, which was a technology salesperson. And there wasn't many around with the success or experience in the early 90s that I had. And because of that, when the Silicon Valley started to pop, Accenture, who did the merger of my company for $3.4 billion that we made, real money, that's back in 1995 when $1 billion was a lot of money. 3.4 billion, that was a big deal. They came to me and said, hey, we have a new venture. I want to help raise $160 million in the Silicon Valley. We'd like to hire you as a director because you can sell ice to Eskimos and basically your job is to raise the money. I said, I don't know anything about raising money. It wasn't chic, or it was a whole different scene back then. This is just the beginning of Sand Hill Road. So I left. I left as the youngest executive of Thomson Reuters, a big company that had bought us. And I went to the West, out there, to raise money. And I met all these extraordinary people at Sequoia, Texas Pacific Group, Amarendo, and I built those relationships and I earned respect. I knew about this much about technology, which is just enough for me to sell. I knew all the business issues of technology. I still do. I still do. I know all the business issues of technology, but I cannot code. Right? These guys go on to these great things, and all of a sudden, like, in the sports field, for example, we were working with real-time gambling. You guys know they legalized gambling. And like all these technology guys, they're going on and on and on about real-time gambling. And I'm just sitting back there. I don't know what coding that takes or whatever, but I do know enough about technology to say it's not going to work in the stadium. Why won't it work in the stadium? Because there's a latency to the information. And if you're gambling, you can't bet that it's going to be a run and then have it be 5 seconds later because someone can actually see it wasn't a run and put a bet in, right? So you have all these geniuses spending all this money, and I'm sitting there going, it ain't going to work. And years earlier, when we were helping consult with building stadiums, they had all these great ideas for seat service and, gosh knows, all the different apps. I'm like, hold on a second, you can't even make a phone call when you're in a stadium, you idiots. I actually go to the games. Right? I still love football. That's why I chose my business partner. He was my hero. And a great businessman. But I love football. You sit there and tell me this thing I'm going to be able to order. How pissed are you going to be if you're $250 in on a seat and somebody says you can use your phone to order and you can't get any connection? The same amount of frustration is when you can't call your kids from a game. Now, I'm old enough where we used to go to events and the hardest part was figuring out how you're going to find somebody. I went to Amsterdam last year to speak, and I was like, I'd been there when I was younger. I was like, man, I didn't realize I spent most of my time when I was in Amsterdam trying to figure out where I was. Right now, I'm just got the walking map. I was like, oh, I got to see everything. So I ended up going to Silicon Valley, branding myself this super sales technology guy, and lo and behold, Samsung wanted to get into the phone market. And who did they choose for their CEO for their first smartphone? A Windows CE device. It wasn't Apple. The first smartphone, called the PC-E phone. I became the CEO of Samsung's first phone, that PCE phone. In my 30s, as a multimillionaire, talking about money, doesn't buy love, it just rents it. I actually made enough money where my dream girl from when I was 9 years old, I got her to marry me. I got her to marry me, and she saved my life later, so I know she actually loves me. It wasn't the money. But she, at 32, it was awesome. I had everything. I had a huge house. I had cars, boats, motorhomes. Anything I wanted, I could buy, not only for me, but for other people. It was awesome. The only problem was the first night that I laid in my humongous house that I built for my wife, because that was her dream house, for the first time ever in 32 years, I was unhappy. I lied there empty. I lie there empty because my whole life I attached my happiness to outcomes. I believe in goals. I believe in objectives. I believe in your vision more than most people. And I can teach you how to manifest what you dream. But don't attach your happiness to it. Because the worst thing happened to me, it all came. And it came bigger than I dreamed. Because I started realizing that I was living in, I say I was living in God's favor. I had a touch of favor. I live in the universe's favor. And the universe has way more in store for us than anything. And I had to shift my life because I'm like, oh my gosh. And I felt guilty. I felt not worthy. I sat in bed thinking, my mom made $17,000 a year and I made $10 million this year. I held my mom up here. And so all this energy. And so what did I do to solve that problem? Well, I became a big asshole. Like most people when they have a problem. They go to blame, shame, and justification. I started surrounding myself with the wrong people and the wrong ideas. People that will tell me how great I am. Give me a false sense of security, a false sense of who I was. I forgot all the things my mom taught me. So what happens? I get involved. I come home one night drunk. There may have been some other things involved. 5:30 in the morning. Became friends with a rapper up at the Grammy Awards, thinking I was something I wasn't, lying to my wife. I came home at 5:30, and there's the 5'1" silhouette of my dream girl waiting for me. I walked up, and she looked at me, and she said, you are not a rock star. You know, buzzed as I was, I looked at her, I said, I may not be, but I sure feel like one. And you should see the look on her face. Send me up to a different room like I was 7 years old. I went upstairs, woke up, hungover, kind of remembered what happened. Never been so unhappy in my life, disappointed in my life. And then I had to walk downstairs to find out I wasn't the only one that was unhappy, right? My wife was unhappy. And my answer in my head initially was, what are you talking about? There's a nanny on that wing. There's a Ferrari and a Porsche in that garage. There's 2 other cars in this garage. These 3 beautiful kids of ours have everything that they need. And she looked at me and she said, literally, you are an asshole. And you better go back and take stock in who you were and what you want to become, or else it's going to become not me here. Unlike most people, I listened. I spent one day thinking about it, depressed, a little bit in anger and shame. And then I said, you know what? She's right. And I went back and I thought, who am I? Right? I'm not just rich. Who am I? And I started realizing there was 4 things that I had that most people didn't focus in on. Number 1 was gratitude. I know you're a business school, and this might sound woo-woo or trite, but it's not. You want to change your life? 2 simple words. Say thank you. Say it before you go to bed and when you wake up. And do it for 30 straight days. 30 straight days. Just say thank you before you go to bed and when you wake up. Who here thinks they can say thank you for 30 straight days? Yeah, you think so. Here's the saddest thing about my life. As I travel around, I was in front of 2,600 people for Denny's, franchise owners, fairly successful entrepreneurs. I asked the same question, and in my mind I'm thinking, by tonight, half of you won't say thank you. By tomorrow morning, another half of you won't say thank you, and within 3 days, most of us won't say thank you. Now, I have studied physics, quantum physics, and metaphysics. I've made over $100 million, lost it, and made it back again. And I know one thing, gratitude's the reason. And even though I tell people the easiest way to get to where you want to be is just to be grateful, we're so far in our own way, we don't do it. Why is gratitude so important? Because no matter what you want, money, relationships, philanthropy, whatever it is you want, your perspective is everything. And there's only one thing that controls your perspective, your gratitude. Gratitude makes your past awesome, your present better, and your future brighter. When I look at things as simple as getting stuck at a stoplight, when I used to use the F-bomb immediately because I'm a time freak. This is one of my favorite speeches ever because it was the first one that started a minute early. And everybody was here. It was awesome. Right? They didn't waste any time. Well, I'm a time freak. And literally, if you're grateful, that time It doesn't matter. You're sitting there and you're just like, thank you. I'm stopped at the stoplight because I sit in the universe's favor. God knows what would have happened if I went through there. What would have happened if I got the green light? Because instead of I'm being punished, I'm being blessed. Everything's a blessing to me. And trust me, if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to get a lot of blessings that you don't understand. Right? It's called no. Anybody ever hear no? Yep. Let me teach you how you're going to love no and be grateful for no. And it's a simple lesson. Just imagine that you are only 25 no's from getting what you want. What if I told everyone in here only 25 no's from getting what you want? When you get the first no, you'd be excited. You won't be bummed at all. You'd be rushing to the 10th no. When you got the 20th no, you'd be super excited. And when the 24th no came, you would have a party because you knew the 25th no was coming next. And then what? You get what you want. Well, I'm here to tell you that's the way the universe works. You are only so many no's from getting what you want. You just don't know how it's going to come. I dreamed, after knowing I wasn't going to be a football player, I dreamed of being a sports agent. And if people ask me, how you become a sports agent? I told them, here's what you do. Start off trying to be a football player, then go to be a doctor, then change to be a lawyer, then go into technology, then go into Silicon Valley and raise money, then become a CEO of a handheld company, then become an angel investor and real estate developer, own everything. And then, of course I forgot, lose all your money. And then that's how you become a sports agent. Because that's exactly what happened to me. That's not how you become a sports agent. How I became a sports agent is I regained my gratitude the same way I made the first time. And then I added on 3 other things. Number 2, empathy. A big problem today with handheld and non-communication is empathy. First problem with empathy is it's not as simple as gratitude. You ask anyone, what does gratitude mean? They say, Thanksgiving, thank you. Oh, okay, thank you. But if I ask people what empathy is, there's a whole varied difference. A lot of people think empathy is sympathy. And I don't like sympathy because it's below the line. It's not an accountable thing. Sympathy is in blame, shame, and justification. But I'm here to tell you, I cannot be poor enough to make you rich. I can't be sick enough to make you well, and I certainly can't be unhappy enough to make you happy. That's sympathy. My dad passed away last year. People came up to me and said, oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm like, you can't be sorry enough to make me feel better. So tell me, what are you going to do? You're going to be empathetic. What's empathetic? Forgiving. And there was only one person to forgive. It's the same asshole that's in your way from success. Yourself. One simple lesson in life. You can't give what you don't have. That's why I like to make a lot of money. To help a lot of people. To have a lot of fun. Money gives me options. I want a lot of it because I can do a lot with it. I can't give what I don't have. I can have all the intentions of the world of saving the world, but I am not to the point like Warren Buffett or Bill Gates and now Bezos. You know, those billions of dollars that they're giving, that creates change and impact. And I've been given a gift, a skill. I want to create abundance so it goes through me. There's 3 worlds that people live in, no matter how much you have. The first one is the world of not enough. I live in Newport Beach, California. There's some of the richest people in the world that live in a world of not enough. They live their whole life wanting more for themselves. Some scarce living. They don't live in a world of more than enough. I give a lot to Africa. I have a villages that we've created. I have an event here tonight to raise money for a community center to empower people. We've impacted 75,000 people who will impact thousands and millions more. And we think, and we go there in the first time, and there's this woman who I love, Mama Jane, all the mamas, right? And she's the head mama. And she's so proud, she invited me to her house. And when Justin was there, my cameraman, and in the house, dirt floor, 1 bedroom, 6 kids, little kitchen, water's outside, bathroom's outside. She was so proud. She's the first home that got a TV set. First home. And Justin asked her, I thought it was a great question. He said, aren't the other mamas jealous of you? Aren't the other mamas jealous? And it was like almost you insulted her. I said, what are you talking about? All the mamas come here and ask me how I did it. Right? That's all they do. How did you do it, Mama? Can you teach us? How did you do it? And then she looked at him and said, why would someone be jealous of you at home where you live? And I'm thinking $40 million houses in Newport Beach on the coast. And he answered, yeah, they'd be really jealous. And here's a woman with very little that you can see. She has a lot more than us because she lives in a world of more than enough. And she says, I feel sorry for you. She felt sorry for him. That was awesome. And so I had to realize that I had to live in a world of more than enough. That things were going to happen way more than me. Because when you live in a world of not enough, things happen to you. Right? Anybody ever be a victim? Things are happening to me. Oh, Lord, help me. Things don't happen to me. I switched. I said things happen for me. Right? Yeah, who said yes? Right there, yes. Things happen for me. But just recently, I came up with a new thing because I think if things are happening for me, I'm living in a world of just enough. There's just enough for me. I started thinking, what if I lived in a true world of more than enough and everything was coming through me? The purpose, the passion, and the profitability is coming through me. So when I get an inspiration, when I get an idea, when I meet someone, my job is to allow it to go through me, which makes me, I have to be able to give and receive. Give and receive. How many here like to give? Everyone, wow. Who here likes to receive? Okay. It's funny. There's an energetic hesitation on the receive. A lot of us think we like to receive. I used to think, man, I got no problem receiving. Nobody has a problem giving. It's innately, biochemically, energetically, and genetically in your nature. The best thing about giving, as Einstein proved, and many others, is that giving is the most special thing in the world because when I give, I'm happy. Serotonin is released in my brain. It actually creates a biochemical reaction, giving, in my brain. And the person receiving becomes happy. The most powerful thing about giving that I know is if you witness giving, serotonin is released in your brain and you're happy. That's how powerful giving is. That's why when we watch a TV show, a movie, or a podcast, we can feel good by witnessing it. And everybody needs that witness. You've got to live in a world of more than enough. You've got to learn to give. Now, the third thing that I went back and took stock in was accountability. Accountability was freeing. It allowed me to take complete control of my life, to be accountable. Now, it was confusing for me because I went to law school. And I remember my mom always telling me when I blame my brothers, going below the line, don't go below the line. You know, the minute I got attacked by mom, oh, but he did. Anybody have kids like that? I do. I got 3 teenagers just like that. They go below the line so much. Well, accountability is powerful because it makes every lesson you learn a miracle. Accountability has 2 questions tied to it. Number 1, what did I do to learn from it? What did I do to attract this into my life? And 2, what am I supposed to learn from it? Now, as a lawyer, it got confusing, like I said. Why? Because I came home like a smart ass and I said, okay, Mom, if accountability is so important, if it's so freeing and it gives me complete control of my life, what if I'm sitting at a stop sign and somebody smashes into the back of me? You're telling me it's my fault? She said, there's your problem, and probably the problem of every lawyer. You don't understand the difference between accountability and liability. There's human laws made, man-made constructs like time and ego that say if somebody runs into the back of you while sitting at a stop sign, they got to fix your car and pay for your damages. So don't go in front of some judge and say, oh, I'm accountable, because he's not going to know the difference, and he's going to say, oh, they're not paying for it. But you got to know the difference between liability and accountability. Your question should not be, to the insurance company. Your question should be to yourself, what did I do to attract this car hitting me, and what am I supposed to learn from it? Because you are 100% accountable for everything in your life. That's the way you start seeing patterns. That's the way you start seeing, am I thinking, saying, and doing all the right things? Am I believing the right things? And unconsciously, what's my competency? There's an unconscious competency that's energetic. Energetic, unconscious competency that makes you attract what you want. And it stems from what you think, say, and do every single day and what you believe, and eventually it comes into your unconscious competency, your energy. That's why we all know people, and you're like, how the heck do they do that? Because they're carrying the energy. They're the people that can step into a puddle and come out smelling like roses, right? It's an energy. We can take control of that energy, and we can start using that energy. It vibrates the fastest. There's also a genetic unconscious competency that everybody is in denial of, and I'm constantly exploring it. What does that mean, a genetic unconscious competency? Most people are barely getting to the energetic side. The genetic one is, what's my personality traits, my character traits? What addictions do I have? Obsessions do I have? What has come down through 4 generations into me? And you got to know those patterns, because you can activate and deactivate those patterns. I believe you can activate and deactivate those patterns even with your health, because health comes down through you. And I believe that part of the reason, not just medical advancements, but part of the reason that some people can get stage 4 cancer and all of a sudden be better is they've deactivated it genetically. And so what I concentrate on is energetically, am I in the right place? And what is that place? Which led me to the 4th thing that I learned, effective communication. Gratitude, empathy, accountability, effective communication. Now, that energy is important because when we communicate, I communicate 2 ways effectively. One is with other people. I communicate and realize that I'm one with all of you. Now, I could convince you, oversell you, back-end sell you, manipulate you, lie to you, and I've done that in my life. And I made a shitload of money doing that. Or I could connect to you emotionally. People buy on emotion for logical reasons. I could connect and go right emotionally and connect to you. Now, if I did that, the power source of that is to connect to that which inspires me first. A duality of effective communication. I live an inspired life. I live in spirit. I don't care what your religions are. I don't care what your beliefs are. You live an inspired life, and then you let it come through you, and you connect to people emotionally, and then give them logical reasons. And it makes everything one. And it changes everything. And you realize that I don't even have to speak to you to connect emotionally, that if I'm carrying an energy of value, I'm going to attract value. And so what I changed in my life overall to make back all the money, to make back things the right way, was very, very simple. I'm of service. And it's not bullshit. Let me just tell you what it means. Because I am a capitalist. I like to make money. I'm not walking the streets of Calcutta, right? I'm not living in a grass hut. I still have a nice house. I do drive a Chevy Volt, not a Ferrari anymore. Because I like to save money to pay for shipping, to send everybody here a book. If you want it, you could DM me. I don't care. But literally, I live of service. What does that mean? I wake up every morning, and the first thing I say to myself, God, please give me 10 people that I can help. And then, all right, good. I'm here to help. And then beyond that, I think to myself, my room is full of $100 bills. My room's full of $100 bills. Does anybody here have a $20 bill? Anyone? Give me a $20 bill. Come up here, look. Grab my wallet too. I'll show you what I do every morning. I think $100 bills all around me, and I feel the energy of what that feels like to have a full bank account. My room is, in my imagination, is filled with $100 bills, like this one. And then I say to myself, I said, can I give you 100?
Sure.
Can I have 20 back?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good deal. Now, it seems simple. Anybody else have a 20? Oh, now everybody raise their hand. Come on. Got to be of service. This guy raised his hand so quickly. And I think to myself, what if my job was to give every single person that I met $100 and ask for 20 back? I call it the Meltzer margin. There's a margin there. There's a margin of value that I'm giving. And it's the same as if I'm walking the streets of Calcutta or giving away money on the street or giving my time. All of that is value. But I believe in a flow. I want something back. And I trust the universe. It's going to come back to me what I want. And I've learned the universe doesn't know size, so I'm going to ask big. So I wake up in the morning, I ask people for God for help of people that I can help. And then when I'm in a business deal, I'm not thinking, what can I take from you? How can I get the most? I'm not going to manipulate you. I'm going to motivate you. And I'm challenging myself. How am I going to provide you value? But the difference between me and most people is when they meet me and I tell them that this is going to make you money, that I'm a profit center for you, they believe me because of my energy. And it doesn't just work with business, it works in life. I went to a family function 2 weeks ago. I walked in, my nephew who loves me, he looked right through me. Right, I came in, and you've seen people do that, and you're so disappointed. You're like, what did I do? He looked right through me. And my mom, it seemed like she saw me come in. She didn't even smile. So I said, hold on a second. I'm not carrying the right energy. I'm not being of service. I must not be in the place emotionally that I need to be in because this isn't what I do. I walked out. And I went back outside and I thought about $100 bills all around me. And I memorized that feeling. And until I had the feeling back in me, then I walked back into the room. And believe it or not, my nephew looked right at me, ran up to me, gave me a big hug. My mom lit up, right? The guy who bought her love still's there. Right? I want you all to carry 120 energy. It will attract. Value attracts value. The universe doesn't know size. Most people don't ask big enough. I still don't ask big enough. I think to myself, what would it be like to have $100 billion? Because there's now people on earth that have $100 billion. I don't have that energy yet. So I'm working through it. And it's going to work through me. And I'm starting to think the only way to figure out how to receive that is what I'm going to do with it. What value I'm going to provide with it. And when it comes to me, it'll be real. When I give it a good plan of how it's going to come through me, you're prepared now. You're ready for it. I received things that I wasn't ready for. And so it was gone. Now I receive it, I'm ready for it. And I also know what I'm not ready. Doesn't mean I don't want it. But I'm going to do the work. I'm going to get the no's. I'm going to learn the lessons. And I'm going to live the miracle. With gratitude every day, being so grateful for everything that happens, forgiving of myself, and trust me, I need forgiveness. I'm one of the biggest hypocrites in the world. I signed my signature says unconditionally, because that's my dream, to live unconditionally, to have no judgments or conditions on anything, to unconditionally live. I know I can't do that yet, but I'm consistently, every day, persistently, without quit, enjoying the pursuit of my potential. To be the best entrepreneur I can be, to be the wealthiest person and the biggest philanthropist because of it. All of these potentials that I have, to be the best dad. And I have different techniques, and I want all of you, if you can, follow me at David Meltzer, DM me, I'll send you a book, I'll pay for shipping. I don't care, send you an ebook if you like those. But I want you to carry value with you. I'm going to finish with my favorite thing that came up to me yesterday, because it makes sense. I had one of my coaching clients say to me, Mr. Meltzer, I have no money. I look at my bank account and there's nothing. When you had no money in your bank account, how could you give value? I said, well, I was walking the streets in London one time and I came across a lady and she was homeless. All she had was this. This is what she had. And she looked up to me. I was going to give her some money to help. And I went to go give her money, and she said, I said, how can I be of service? And she looked at me and she said, do you want to buy this from me? I said, yeah, I'll buy that from you. She said, $1 million. Yeah, that was my response. Little did I know it was the worst business decision of my life and the most insulting thing I did because I don't understand value. Because that lady was J.K. Rowling's. And she offered me Harry Potter, $1 billion. Sitting as a homeless person, she has more value than this entire room. It wasn't really her, it's a good story. But I was using an example. I was scaring you there. I don't manipulate, I motivate. But it could have been. She carries 120 energy. as she's sitting homeless on the street with nothing, knowing I have a gift. I have skills, knowledge, and desire, and I don't need a Ferrari like that asshole Dave Meltzer. I don't need a big house. Someday I'll have it because I know the truth, and I'm pursuing my truth because this story is good. People are going to be inspired by my story. Kids are going to wake up and stay up late at night. I'm going to have redemption. Redemption because of my story, because kids are not going to play video games. They're going to want to read that book. My son plays Fortnite. He's 8 years old. He's not allowed to play any video games until it's dark. And he has to have all his homework done. But I also know that he's not going to be a professional football player, most likely, unless he has some kind of skill that I didn't have. But percentage-wise, he probably won't. But I also know that in the future, an esports star may be more respected than Warren Moon. So I want him to develop his esports skills. The same as I send him to practice to play football, which I do. I send him to practice every night because he loves it. And he could make money from it. And it's not my place to say it's bad. But it was interesting. He's in the 3rd grade, and they have the book fair, and they buy the books. And usually he buys them, he always buys football books. And he likes them. You know, statistics about Peyton Manning and all these great stories about football. Uncle Warren, he buys great books. All of a sudden, I see a whole box of books, the whole Harry Potter thing. I was like, Miles, what's up? He goes, I want to really read this. I want to really read. I said, you've seen the movies. I know, but I really want to read it. And I thought to myself, it's the energy. It's that energy that she developed, that the universe, you see it as challenges that she's overcoming. It's not. She's being blessed. The same way that I was blessed. And all of you are blessed. And what you need to do and why I come here is not to manipulate, but to motivate and realize I just need to find my blessings. Because we all have them. And there's so much more out there. All of you live in the world of more than enough, with me and through me. And so if all of us can live with gratitude, empathy, accountability, and effective communication, if all of us can consistently, every day, persistently, without quit, enjoy the pursuit of that blessing, that potential, that truth, we can manifest everything we desire. And most importantly, be happy. And if I can empower you to be happy, to empower others to be happy, that's what makes me happy. Thank you very much.